Any genre of watch will have a relative scale of complexity as you ascend in price. But dive watches are less than straightforward as a concept. By default, the style is so capably driven that discerning the elements that separate a less expensive option from a premier luxury one may be lost on less informed buyers. In this video though, we're going through every different tier of dive watches to help you better understand and illustrate the pockets that make up the broader hierarchy in the dive watch world. What we're gonna be covering here are the most attainable choices all the way up to the upper echelon, calling out characteristics and examples at each tier. What I also want to make clear is that a quality or a lackluster watch can be obtained at any one of these tiers, and that these tiers are not industry standard of understanding. Instead, these are just a guide to comprehend what exactly you get for each specified range, with this structure being reverse engineered around what is actually out there. A couple other points are that ISO compliance is not entirely necessary to be included in this list, although we want to have watches that respect the design principles of a diver's watch as much as possible. And finally, certain brands can reside in multiple different categories or multiple tiers. So in other words, a Seiko watch could be included in, say, the first tier, but also could be included farther along in this list. And this is gonna be a beast of a video. I'm gonna be covering a lot of the dive watch industry here, but still, even with this being a long one, we're just scratching the surface. I can't include every single example in every one of these tiers. So before we proceed any further with this video, we just launched our digital magazine of the top watches for 2025. We put the team together, put all of our minds together in developing a list of the top 40 watches at this halfway point throughout the year. We looked at all different corners of the industry, all different price ranges, and we're really trying to break through the noise and discern what were the top watches throughout this year. We've traveled all across the globe. Here are some of the watches that we thought were best. You can download it down below. Just be a subscriber on teddybaldassarre.com and you can check that out. We carefully crafted and designed this online magazine, so if you want to download it, check it out down below so you can be more informed about what is new for 2025. So now let's go to the first category. We are met with divers that sit closer to the entry point of professionally capable, where form follows function, with a price range up to roughly $1,000. These are cost-effective pieces that offer serious capability at a great price for those who actually dive or those who want to feel equipped in case one day they do want to test the waters. Now, 200 meters of water resistance, a screw-down crown, and a unidirectional bezel are all highly desirable. Legitimate history and ISO compliance are big pluses, but most of all, we're looking at watches that are stripping all of the unnecessary in order to deliver a compelling yet capable tool for the job. There are many watches and brands to name here. However, let's begin with the king of this category, Seiko. Their long history in divers includes many classics, but for this amount of money, we're looking mostly at the entry-level prospects pieces, such as the Turtle, Samurai, and Monster. Seiko has a long-standing relationship with PADI, the Professional Association of Diving Instructors, where the brand has collaborated with on select releases. Seiko even helped establish the standard for dive watches with both the International Standards Organization, or ISO, or the Japanese Industrial Standards. At the higher end of this segment is the King Turtle, which raises the bar with elevated specifications that include a sapphire crystal and a ceramic bezel, along with its unique dial textures, and is powered by the 4R series of movements, a common attribute that you will find on the inside of the Seiko watches at this tier. Although not discussed as frequently, Citizen is one of the most important names in diving and represents a pillar of professional capability with their ProMaster lineup, which includes both solar and automatic movement choices. A vast vertically integrated manufacturer, their first dive watches appeared in the early 1960s with models such as the 120-meter Jet Auto Dater. Ever since, they've been pushing the envelope with serious dive tools that combine professional capability with fantastic value. One of their most popular models is the 200-meter ProMaster Dive, an all-business black dial classic in a wearable 44mm case. It has a solar-powered eco-drive movement, ISO-compliant construction, and a superbly legible dial. For a retro throwback, we have the Aqualand. Based on the 1980s original, it features a quartz analog digital movement, and believe it or not, a legitimate digital depth gauge and built-in dive alarm functions. If your tastes run more towards the mechanical movements, you have the Fugu Automatic, named after a Japanese pufferfish. It has a 44mm case similar to that of the Eco Drive ProMaster Dive, but with a crown at 8 o'clock. And for a spin on the top of the range that also dabbles in the 9 series of calibers from Citizen, you have the 41mm Challenge Diver. This piece gets a Mercedes handset and a titanium construction, an idea that has been embedded within the history of Citizen in the early days. And although it's not a traditional diver, we also have to mention G-Shock with the Frogman series, which includes a digital dive timer, ISO compliance, and distinguishes itself as being an actual Navy-issued watch. While it may not look like your typical dive watch, rest assured it's more than mission ready. And before we move on to the next tier, we have to give a shout out to some micro brands because in this range, they do a phenomenal job. I'm just gonna name a few here. There's so many to include. First is the Momentum Sea-Quartz 30. It's based off of the original Chronosport model, famously worn by Tom Selleck and Magnum PI. It features a Swiss quartz movement, 300 meters of water resistance, a sapphire crystal, and a great vintage look with modern build quality, all while being under $300. Next is the Scurfa Diver 1, a brand started by an actual commercial diver, Paul Scurfield. It's available in steel or titanium, is powered by a quartz ETA movement, has 500 meters of water resistance, a helium escape valve, and has a sapphire crystal, all at the price of less than $350. And finally, we have a genuine military history brand, the Cabot Watch Company's Royal Navy Diver. The original versions supplied to the Royal Navy use automatic movements, but were replaced by quartz ones in 1983. And today's upgraded versions include Swiss Ronda 5117 movements, you have sapphire crystals, and superluminova. For our next tier, we have one of my personal favorites, and we're looking at divers with serious street cred with genuine roots in underwater exploration. There is this sub-pocket of enthusiasts in the diving space that have gravitated towards this tier for its middle ground of value, offering elevated movements from the previous tier, upgraded materials, while fusing this diving lore type of concept that comes with brands representing the category. The watches in this tier are gonna be priced around $800 to $2,500 just to give a general idea. And many of the names that occupy this section will be companies that might not be the first that come to mind amongst the novice collector. However, if you are into the game and if you understand the early contributions to diving in the mid-20th century or are Cousteau acolytes, you will find a home in this subset. There's a lot of brands to mention here, so we'll go through them pretty quickly. First, we gotta mention Certina with the DS Super PH1000M with its advanced DS concept case, making its mark on diving history with its use in the Tektite underwater project and being issued to Australian Navy divers. The sister brand of the Swatch group that is right alongside Certina is Mito, also deserving mention here for its numerous Ocean Star models, featuring some famous decompression scale dials that are fan favorites and very distinctive. Canada's Marathon is well regarded for its overbuilt tool watches with a military heritage, having supplied the Allied forces during World War II. The government search and rescue exemplifies the concept in the 21st century, having been designed in 2000 after collaborating with the Royal Canadian Air Force Search and Rescue technicians, who needed a dive watch that could tackle the wide range of environments. The watch has 300 meters of water resistance, you have a Sellita movement on the inside, and then you have that touch of tritium with those gas tubes on the dial as well as the hands. Squale is a revered name in diving dating back to the mid-20th century as a case manufacturer for renowned brands also in the arena like Blancpain, Heuer, and Doxa. But their own divers include the legendary 1521, also known as the 50 Atmos for its 500 meters of water resistance. Select modern versions feature COSC certified Sellita chronometer movements and a sapphire crystal with a connection to Italy's Marine Militare as well. Aquastar is a name that embodies the image of this category, being niche yet notable for its significant contributions to the craft. The first Aquastar 60 was introduced under the Jean Richard name and a time-only model in a curved no crown guard case style that became known as the Skin Diver. The watch was worn by Captain Don Walsh on board the Trieste submersible in its journey down to the Mariana Trench. This expedition was made famous in the watch world with the Deep Sea Special Rolex attached to the outside of the bathyscaphe. However, it was the Model 60 that was the captain's choice on the inside. Other notable names to mention here are Oris with the Diver 65 with its retro skin diving flare, the Zodiac Seawolf. However, this also is going to comprise the next step up with Seiko with their 6R family of calibers and upgraded finish that comes along with the process. The SPB143 is the contemporary rendition of their first dedicated dive watch, the 62 Mas. It updates the squared off lugs and flatter skin diver case profile of the 1965 original with a modern 40.5mm diameter and caliber 6R35 under the hood. You also have a curved sapphire crystal and being ISO compliant. In addition, you'll see contemporary versions of the asymmetrical 6105 diver from the early 1970s, known as the Captain Willard, being given this name and having all this allure connected to it because of Martin Sheen's character in Apocalypse Now, with it now living through many different references in the modern catalog. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is really intended and was developed as a reverse engineering around the industry to reflect what the market is. One of the trickiest aspects when we're going through each one of these sections is to navigate this next segment from $1,500 to $5,000. For this, we're going to split this into two separate tiers that run in parallel with one another in terms of their pricing consideration, with the line of distinction being drawn through a drastic difference in stylistic approach. For the first of the two categories, we have what we'll call Tier 3A, titled Attainable Overperformers. With this price range of $1,500 to $5,000, a collection of watches is available that are designed to withstand the most extreme conditions, featuring highly engineered cases, extra thick crystals, and substantial water resistance. These watches have no concern for traditional concepts of luxury, although they still understand the principle of being built for the long haul and outlasting their owner. Germany's Sinn is the archetype for this tier, as the bulk of their catalog consists of watches with specs that go way beyond the limits of human endurance. Their divers come with submarine-grade steel and, optionally, their proprietary tegimented treatment for their cases, increasing the hardness to 1200 Vickers. Models like the U50 and its larger sibling, the U1, offer 500 to 1,000 meters of water resistance respectively, with some of the best legibility in the industry. In addition, you have the incredible Hydro series with its unusual oil-filled case and high-spec Etiquartz movements, achieving a staggering 5,000 meters of water resistance. And with those oil-filled cases, it eliminates the underwater refraction, ensuring that time is always readable. Finally, their EZM displays 500 meters of water resistance, but also increases the magnetic resistance to 80,000 amperes per meter, along with Sinn's anti-fogging AR dehumidifying technology. Müller Glashütte is another well-regarded German name based in the tiny town of Glashütte, Germany. Being family-owned, the brand was a supplier of gauges for cars and motorcycles from the likes of BMW, as well as marine chronometers and cockpit instruments, but today they're renowned for the robust, capable tool watches. Most notable among these is the SAR Rescue Timer. Originally produced for the German Maritime Search and Rescue Service, it packs a whopping 1,000 meters of water resistance into a case featuring hooded lugs, a rubber bezel, and a 4mm sapphire crystal, with the Cyclops being able to be housed within, creating no protruding bubble like a Rolex, for example. Now, Oris lands in this tier as well with their Aquis line that was introduced in 2011. It's one of the most significant and most diverse collections that you're going to have for dive watches in general, and includes the burly 23.4mm thick Aquis Pro, a beast of a diver constructed from titanium. It's designed for serious saturation diving, and it calls upon a helium escape valve, a locking bezel, and an impressive 4,000 meters of water resistance, making it the most water-resistant watch in their catalog. Citizen's overbuilt ProMaster 1000M professional diver clocks in here, and with a massive 53mm diameter. It's constructed of Citizen's proprietary super titanium and sports a black dial with highly legible hands, a power reserve indicator, and a solar-powered eco-drive movement. It's ISO compliant, features a helium release valve for saturation diving, and has one-way timing bezel with confidence of a locking mechanism. And of course, we have Seiko again, now taking up another tier here. Here we have one of the most emblematic pieces from the brand, the 1975 Heritage Diver's Watch with the reference S23631. It's the spiritual grandchild of the big bad tuna from the 1970s, as worn by Commander James Bond himself in For Your Eyes Only. The modern 49.4mm version is saturation ready with 1,000 meters of water resistance and adds a protective shroud made of ceramic, replacing the titanium version of the original. The inner case, though, is made of titanium, making this watch easier to wear than you might think, and a quartz caliber 7C46 is utilized for greater accuracy and reliability. Tier 3A is for those who desire peace of mind that comes with knowing that your watch can basically handle just about anything. That said, there are some consequences that come with these approaches, as they might not be as versatile as others. Which brings us to our next tier to complement Tier 3B, the commercial yet still serious. This can be summed up as designs that are tasteful for mass market enjoyment rather than appealing to a small niche clientele, while still being professionally appropriate. Versatility is one of the core tenets, as these watches can be dive watch capable, but they could also serve as an everyday watch as well, sitting at a price range of $1,500 to $5,000. What you'll be getting here is up materials, movements, and more familiar brand names that cater to practicality instead of these extreme circumstances. TAG Heuer is a brand well known to enthusiasts, and they earn their place here in the tier with their Aqua Racer family, being a design-forward model that adds elegant touches to the professional specs. Now, they're offered in a range of sizes, you have different colors, and different water resistance tiers. Looking at the 300-meter dive watch versions, these are distinguished by their 12-sided bezels with ceramic inserts, you have intriguing dial textures, and seamless integrations of added complications. Longines is an absolute no-brainer when it comes to this tier with the refined Hydro Conquest family of divers. They're available in a broad selection as well, a theme that you'll see throughout this tier. You'll also get a variety of different colorways to choose from, with this handsome model still managing 300 meters of water resistance and delivers a list of upscale features. This includes ceramic bezel inserts and using proprietary movements using ETA-produced parts assembled in their facility in Saint-Imier. Oris has been busy in the mentions thus far, with the standard Aquas being a phenomenal choice here. The Aquas is Oris's best-selling line, now boasting nearly 70 different references. It has an integrated bracelet concept, being a standard setter in build quality, and a wide range of sizes and colorways to make this an easy pick, being recently updated in 2024. The jump to the caliber 400 probably takes it to the tier above. However, Sellita options still remain, along with the rest of the compelling suite of features we come to expect from this leading independent name. So as you start to get to $4,000 as a starting price, this is a tipping point in the dive watch market where some of the leading names will become available. For this, we're going to carve out this section referring to it as the luxury tier, which spans up to around $10,000, if not north of that, for select pieces. Now, I was considering creating two different tiers to break up the broad spectrum here. However, after some deliberation, I talked with the team, tried to really think about what are the different pockets here, and we think that having a single category is the most straightforward approach. This is probably the most diverse selection so far, with a variety of styles occupying the tier, and this is where you'll find those blue chip stocks of the watch industry, including pieces that even non-watch people might recognize. The principles at this tier include elevated case finishes, precious metals, in-house or proprietary movements, enhanced testing standards, and prestige that comes along with being some of the most recognizable brands. The starting point for this tier must be Tudor, with watches like the Black Bay and the Pelagos serving as the perfect entry point. The Black Bay 54 and 58 align as your player if you're a fan favorite of vintage-sized divers with classical aesthetics. The Black Bay 58 is one of the best-selling lines from the brand, and it now comes in several different flavors. I am wearing the navy blue one on my wrist right now. You have choices of different case materials, a GMT, and the new burgundy version with its master chronometer certifications, and the new option of a 5-link bracelet with T-fit coming into the fold. If you prefer a larger size, enter the 41mm. It offers much of the same in terms of spec upgrades and comes in a monochromatic black version as well as the burgundy variant. For those with preferences leaning toward modernity, this is where you can start to look at the titanium or carbon case Pelagos family that offers a bounty of choices, including the Pelagos 39, the fixed lugs format of the military-inspired FXD series, the standard Pelagos 42mm with 500 meters of water resistance, and the new Pelagos Ultra, doubling the figure to 1,000 meters and adds the master chronometer certification. From here, we should also include the new Breitling Super Ocean Heritage B31. The Super Ocean Heritage was just upgraded last month with its own proprietary movement, no longer relying on the Tudor Canisi MT caliber, all while still delivering stellar on-paper performance. This has made a smaller case option also a possibility at 40mm, being thinner than the previously stated Black Bay 58 and featuring a neatly integrated mesh bracelet design that complements the color choices. Then we have the mighty Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter, and this watch has its own hierarchy within itself. We have a whole video talking about just this model family within the Seamaster, so it's a sub-collection of the Seamaster, and we have a whole video, and I talked about it for like 15 minutes just to give you context. In summary, you have the coaxial movements with master chronometer certifications, 300 meters of water resistance, and the choice of a couple of different broader approaches. The traditional multi-link design bracelet with its ceramic touches remains the core identity after its update in 2018, whereas the no time to die formula of utilizing aluminum and the mesh bracelet also exists. Then on the other side, you have the vintage styling of the Seamaster 300, offering a retro take with flat lugs and sandwich numeral dials while maintaining the elevated specs of its more modern looking brethren, being topped off with the use of 8900 movements rather than the 8800 movements of the Diver 300. The Planet Ocean series is the Seamaster on steroids, with 600 meters of water resistance being the starting point. You have unique colorways, 8900 movements, and some daring executions with extreme performance. For example, the 6000 meter Planet Ocean Ultra Deep. We now arrive at Rolex, and what else is there to say? This is the final destination for many collectors, and the Submariner is the archetype of not only this tier, but also for a dive watch in general. Incremental improvements over its remarkably long run have given us a diver with near ideal dimensions, upgrades in materials, and its superlative chronometer standard. Now, if 300 meters is not enough for you, there's always the 1,220 meter Sea Dweller. It has almost 1,000 meters and a helium escape valve to the equation. Yet in a never-ending quest for oceanic dominance, Rolex released the Deep Sea in 2008, upping the ante to 3,900 meters, with a titanium Deep Sea Challenge being the most extreme of all. It comes in a 50 millimeter case, as well as 11,000 meters of water resistance. Seiko is famous for its divers, and Grand Seiko upholds that long tradition with the SLGA 023 Ushio dive watch, a final boss of Japanese dive watches if there ever was one. Part of the Evolution 9 series, the Ushio retains all of the elevated touches you'd expect from Grand Seiko, including its amazing fit and finish, and this one is also crafted from high-intensity titanium, employs the 9R A5 spring drive movement with its improved accuracy of plus or minus 10 seconds a month, with 5 days of power reserve to go along with it. There are a few brands as recognizable as Panerai, and two models in particular are among their most iconic. The Radiomir has its roots dating back to the 1930s when prototypes were created for the Italian Navy, featuring radium-based illumination. The square cushion case remains unmistakable to this day with its wire-style lugs and assertive presence. The evolution of the Radiomir gave birth to the Luminor, featuring standard lugs, a bulkier case, and a guarded crown with its innovative flip-lock mechanism. With its hulking demeanor, it's no wonder that this was a watch of choice for many 90s action stars, although many people probably don't give these enough play, and they can work for a normal sized wrist, despite what many people think, especially if you go for pieces like the submersible, serving as a contemporary take on the recipe. Another brand that we should get into and mention is IWC with the Aqua Timer. It features the 42 millimeter, 300 meter water resistance case with a standout design and internal rotating bezel. The innovative one-way solution rotates the inner bezel using a clever sliding clutch system, preventing the dive time from being accidentally extended. Z is the last letter of the alphabet, so we'll wind up here with Zenith to round out this part of the tier, and their throwback DeFi Revival. Now this is a faithful tribute to 1969 with its original. This is the A3648 reboot, and it retains its dimensions and aesthetics, complete with a funky 37 millimeter 8-sided case and blazing orange colorway. This again only scratches the surface of this category and will mainly consist of players in that $4,000 to $10,000 range. And given the category of diver and the amount of suitable watches below this tier, there is no question that there are going to be diminishing returns that are going to come. That said, for those with the budget and the passion for this style and category, this has some of the best variety out there. For our final tier, we've reached the great beyond of watchmaking, the place you go where there are no other places left to conquer, the realm of high horology. Unlike other categories of watches, dive watches are rarely showcased at this level, given the utilitarian use cases commonly associated. What separates this tier from the others before it is going to be the elevated level of movement finishing, usually done at the singular component level. You have higher complications coming into the fold, additional precious metals, and other notable bespoke practices. The most recognizable name in this tier is the legendary Blancpain 50 Fathoms, without which the dive watch world that we know it may not look the same way. It has come a long way since its humble tool watch origins, with construction and finishing that place it squarely in the high horology category, given the brand's redirection in the 1980s. Available in steel, titanium, ceramics, and precious metal options, the line is split between the bathyscaphe and the automatic lines. Powering many is the caliber 1315, showcasing the high contrast anglage, polished sinks, you have the polished screw heads, and an 18 karat gold oscillating weight with a 5-day power reserve coming off of 3 barrels in the movement. The 50 Fathoms also showcases higher concepts like different calendar functions as well as tourbillons, and Blancpain operates 2 workshops in the Valley de Joux. One where the brand manufactures small components from raw parts and higher complications, and their Métier d'Art workshop in La Brasseux, which we actually toured on this channel with the help of global CEO Mark Hayek. Glashütte Original CQ is the pinnacle of German dive watch construction, representing a modern evolution of the 1969 Spesmatic Type RP TS200, Glashütte's first purpose-built dive watch. Although the 39mm CQ is no slouch, we're gonna look at the panorama version instead because it's better at demonstrating this level of higher horology. The watch comes with its proprietary date display that operates using 2 discs directly seated next to one another to show the transition at midnight seamlessly. The 3613 movement is an attractive caliber featuring a gold weight on the rotor, Glashütte stripes, a black polished swan neck regulator, tempered blued screws, and a snailed reduction wheel. Along with the looks, the Panorama CQ receives a 24-day excellence test before leaving the facility, undergoing a variety of simulated environments to ensure proper performance before leaving the manufacturer. JLC's Polaris Memovox is especially worthy of consideration given its unique application of alarms in this segment. Being produced inside one of the most capable manufacturers in watchmaking, nestled in the Valley de Joux, JLC has provided movements for many of the industry's greats. The Memovox signature alarm function resides in the caliber 956, being composed of 271 components, being finely finished with a Côte de Genève across the bridges, you have anglage and tempered blued screws. And on top of it all, you're getting a watch undergoing the 1000 hours test, the rigorous internal testing standard for JLC that spans 42 days. So most examples thus far cater to traditional norms, although there is an entire other category of avant-garde techniques that also exist in this tier. As an example, the Ulysse Nardin Diver Air, the lightest automatic mechanical dive watch in the world. It weighs a total of 52 grams, including the strap, but offers real-world capability through clever design and judicious material choices. The Air is constructed of titanium, carbon fiber, and upcycled nylon fishing nets, and the skeletonized movement is primarily titanium, a weight-saving design that reduces the UN 374 caliber to a feathery 7 grams, and that's even with including that automatic winding rotor. And there you have it. That is the breakdown of the different tiers of dive watches in the industry. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was a lot to put together. Was trying to reverse engineer, like I mentioned, around the entire industry of dive watches. And this is a weird type and category of watch to think about because you have the hierarchy of what people usually think about as you start to go up and what they value when you get into high horology, more bespoke finishing techniques. But then you have that utilitarian, resilient type of design and function that comes with the dive watch. It creates a spectrum of watches that is unlike much that you're going to find in other categories of watches. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Really do appreciate that. If you like this style of video where we do this breakdown of all the different tiers and understanding what is out there for a style of watch, we can continue this in the future. Maybe something like a chronograph, dress watches. Just let me know in the comments down below if you'd like us to continue this going forward. Also be sure to check out teddybaldassarre.com. TeddyBaldassarre.com is an authorized dealer for all the brands that we carry, over 35 brands at this point. Every purchase from our website comes with quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. In addition to that, if you're ever in the Cleveland, Ohio area, you're stopping through the city, please do come in and say hello to our team. We have events going on throughout the year, so be signed up for our events list. But we'd love to be able to help you out with your next watch purchase, whether in-store or online. It allows us to keep doing what we're doing here. We love what we do. Guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.